We'll bring the meeting to order. Welcome to the October the 22nd meeting of the Liberty Lake Planning Commission. We'll begin with our roll call, please.
Joe Mann,
Here.
Tom Solberg,
Here.
Jim Bumker,
Here.
DG Garcia, Charlie Jenks,
Here.
Phil Follier,
I'm here.
Gene Hoyschel,
Here.
and Troy Mullenix. Oh, he's out today.
Note that Commissioner Mullenix did ask to be excused. Entertain a motion to excuse Commissioner Mullenix.
Move to excuse.
And I'm sorry,
Move to excuse. Troy.
twice.
Twice.
Second.
Okay. I still didn't understand what you said, so I'm sorry.
He's not gonna re-up.
Okay.
Charlie's in great fun.
So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We will move on to Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd stand and join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. We will move to general business. Preview of the agenda. Is there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Evan, can you go to the next slide, please?
Okay. A motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve. Second.
Commissioner Jenks, second by Commissioner Solberg. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Minutes from October 8th to be approved. See any differences with that? Entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Jenks,
Second.
Commissioner Baumker, thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
My thanks to Commissioner Baumker for chairing the meeting 2 weeks ago. I appreciate it. Next, we will move on to our workshops. We have a Parks Plan presentation.
So Jen Dial is online with us, and we also have with us Jen Camp and Mikhail Stevens, our Parks and Rec Director and our Recreation Coordinator. And they're going to be also providing you with some of the feedback from the Parks and Arts Commission, who is actually taking the lead on this plan. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jen. Dial, that is. She's not online. Oh my. All right, well, then what I'd like to suggest, she did have a prior appointment. She is going to zoom in. I'm going to suggest that we jump to the second workshop, and we'll have to circle back when she does join us.
That's fair enough. Everybody okay with that? Any objection? All right, let's move to the preliminary draft of the combined natural environment climate element.
So Amy's going to share her screen now.
Oh, phew. So this should be relatively brief. Most of what you guys are going to see, you've already seen. It was just dressed differently. So most of what this is just new introduction and segues between the different sections. So I'm going to scroll through and we'll stop where we need to. And if you guys have any corrections, just let me know. So again, this is just, this introduction section is new. It's just kind of introducing how we did it and how we kind of integrated the existing natural environment and the required climate sub-elements. Does anyone have any changes or comments on this page?
The appendices, will we see them soon?
Yeah, so we're just kind of waiting until we have all of our appendices and then we can label them, and then I'll go back through and fix the references. These are just placeholders for right now.
But you actually have seen the appendices already.
Yeah.
Except for the one.
These ones we've seen.
No, you have seen them all.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so no changes or comments to this section? Everyone's furiously reading.
Everybody came prepared. so-
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So this is another just introductory piece, kind of introducing the greenhouse gas reduction sub-element. Again, most of this should be pretty standard for you guys at this point. Any changes or additions? Excellent. Okay, so we'll keep moving. Again, all of this is stuff that you guys have already seen and given preliminary approval for. It's just kind of trying to get everything in one place and in one format.
Okay.
So this is the same thing, this is just an intro, so it kind of segues into the resiliency sub-element. Pretty straightforward. Again, most of this is all just taken from the existing documents you guys have seen. Any changes? Keep moving.
Love how you work that scroll.
Let's keep moving. So we did add this map of the erodible soils and aquifer boundary. The only change to this particular section was this little bolded figure 4.1, so it refers to the new map. But just trying to give some visuals to some of the different things we're talking about. All these different subsections you guys have all seen there from our original comp plan.
Just a question on the map.
Yeah.
Can you scroll down a little bit?
Yeah.
Little finger up there. How is that? You see the one that's a little finger up there?
Are you talking about the out Appleway?
Yeah,
Yes.
what is, does that, how is that?
This guy right here,
Yeah, how is that zone?
That-
C2,
I'm sorry,
C2, freeway commercial.
is freeway commercial?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was,
Big house.
yeah, I just never noticed that little sliver there before, so.
So part of it is, the cannabis and glass facility, part of it is Northwest Trends, and there's a little piece of it, a little piece to the east of that is undeveloped, it's owned by Rudine.
Owned by who?
Routine.
Rudine,
Okay, gotcha, okay.
and that's gonna be a bit more challenging to develop because of the topography of the site.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, this is existing. So this map is new. Again, we added a reference to the figure below, and then down here, there's a statement tying the narrative to the map.
Mhm. And there's no flood zone, is there?
Well,
There is.
there is a flood zone. The flood zone is in blue. There's a little,
Yeah.
the flood zone is in blue. So the lake and part of Trailhead, there is one HOA property along
Okay,
the
okay.
floodway down south. And there's one little teeny tiny little finger that is in what is in the river district that is actually planned to be an HOA tract when that area is platted. So there's actually no private developable private property
In
that
flood
is in the
zone,
flood zone.
okay, okay.
So the last little bit down here is a piece on air quality. There is an existing section in our existing comp plan, but we just revamped it a little bit to also include the greenhouse gas and refer back to the greenhouse gas section.
Very nicely put together.
Excellent.
Lisa, what's required of us tonight on this element?
Nothing, we just wanted to prepare you for, we're trying to make sure that you see all of the draft
So
chapters.
no
of the-
action.
No action at this point in time. This is just the working draft.
Okay.
But we wanted you to see, you've seen all the parts and pieces. We wanted you to see how we put them together. And so, yeah, that's, and I apologize to the planning commission. Apparently I must have printed this as a PDF instead of, or saved it as a PDF instead of printed it as a PDF. So you didn't have your red lines in there. My apologies.
No worry.
Hey,
It's,
Make it look
you
better.
made it look very pretty. Thank you.
Look better with that.
Is there any update on the landfill?
there is no update on the landfill.
Okay.
All right, so.
Nicely done.
Is she online yet? Okay, good. Thank you.
So then if you could pull up the parks plan, please. So Jen, we just jumped ahead to the other workshop that we had. And I just give you a heads up, Jen Camp and Mikhail are both online and we'll be sharing kind of the Parks and Arts Commission perspective also. I'm going to ask Evan, since I don't have a computer here, I'm asking if you can watch for Jen Camp or Mikhail to raise their hands to let us know. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, Lisa and commissioners. Excited to present an update on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. I'd wanted to be there in person, but so many meetings today I couldn't make it out. So I hope you guys, can you hear me okay this way?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm going to share my screen then, or are you guys already showing it, Lisa? Or do you need me to share screen?
You need to share screen.
Okay. Great. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Now we can.
Okay. Well, I wanted to just give a quick kind of project update. I know I was out before all of you not that long ago, but you're probably not thinking about all the various phases of this and where are we now. So just a quick overview of the overall Parks and Recreation Master Plan and what was involved in that. You can see the green check marks down the side there indicate the phases that have been completed. The demands and needs analysis and goals and objectives are nearly final. The goals and objectives are going through the Parks and Arts Commission for review now. So that first 5 phases of the project are pretty well wrapped up, and I'm here to kind of give you an update on what the second phase of the project is looking like. We've just initiated the second phase really here in the last week, and we hope to have that all wrapped up with a final plan for adoption and recommendation to all of you about in late February and early March. So we're going to be busy over the winter months working on this. So you'll probably see me again here with a few more updates as we move forward. The second phase, we will be conducting a new level of engagement, a new process of engagement to talk to the community about more specific project priorities to inform your capital improvement program and ultimately your capital facilities plan. Our first set of engagement that I've shared with all of you about, and I'll go actually have some highlights for today, was really more about a broader vision for the community and what do you want to see in your system and what types of experiences would you like to have. And now we'd like to go back to the community and say, okay, you've said you'd like to see these 6 things. Of those things, what are your highest priorities? And and bring some awareness to what the budget constraints and realities are associated with those particular priorities. So that's kind of the timeline there. And we're also going to be working, in addition to formal approval of the Parks and Recreation Plan, on your RCO certification process to make sure that you're up to date for grant eligibility for the next 6 to 10 years with RCO. So just real quick, I'd like to share kind of what the engagement methods were for our first phase and how that's informing the second phase. We did interviews with city staff. We did a broad community survey. We had a kickoff workshop when we started the project. And then we did a series of pop-up events over the summer at key locations and events in the community to meet people where they are, to make engagement easy and fun and accessible. And as you can see from these pictures, we had a lot of kiddos and families engaging directly about the types of play and activities they'd like to see in the park system. We've been working away on analyzing all the results from the pop-ups, from conversations with the public, from the survey, to put together some key takeaways that can help guide recommendations and decisions that you all want to make. So we grouped these into categories. Some of the key takeaways related to questions around recreational programming was a desire to have more camps and classes. A lot of interest in water recreation, more youth league sports opportunities, and inclusive options for seniors, families, and people with disabilities. When asked about priorities for facilities and amenities, I think we've talked about this before. There was interest in the pool idea and an aquatic center, interest in a year-round facility for recreation indoors during those winter months, an expanded sidewalk and trail connection throughout the park system, and then just more amenities overall, like shelters and restrooms and shade structures. We asked the community about public art as well. Got a lot of fun input on that. Some interest in the locations of where art should go, with an emphasis on historical and cultural themes, murals and mosaics, and some nature-inspired installations. In terms of community values and experiences, you know, folks want well-lit, safe experiences. They want some more natural area and shade for just being more passive in the park system. That accessibility piece came out, and just interest in having an opportunity to connect with neighbors and community through more events such as Barefoot in the Park and Winter Glow and other events that you're all so well known for.
Jen, we have a question here.
Yeah, and the
Yes.
engagement exercises. Were there any questions or comments with respect to access to the lake?
We did ask folks if they use regional facilities and county facilities outside of the city system. So we did inquire about that, but we didn't spend a lot of time on that question, just since it's not part of your city system.
Yeah, I know that the reason why I bring that up is many times when I've been at the city booth, you know, newcomers to the city ask, gee, how can we get access to the lake?
Yeah.
I said, so sorry.
But there is access to the lake via the county park.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful park now with the upgrade that they just did.
They just don't seem to really know about it though.
We do have some handouts and whatnot at Farmers Market that do show some of those regional attractions, trails, etc. Yeah, so we do have some materials there. Next time we have a farmers market.
Yeah. But yet the county really doesn't have any programs.
But
They
there may
don't
be-
have any swimming programs, kayaking programs, boating programs, no programs at all for the lake.
But there's opportunities for us to partner with them.
Well,
in the
there you
future.
go. That's
And
where I was going
Jen
with that.
Is online. Jen, would you or Mikhail like to speak to that?
Yeah, we ironically, we met with the county not too long ago because we have had feedback from folks on water activities. Obviously, there isn't an opportunity within city limits that we are aware of where we can offer or partner. Trutina has come up as a suggestion because apparently they have a pool, but we haven't pursued that. But we did meet with the county folks, Mark McAvoy, myself, and Mikkel, and discussed what possibilities and potential there is to partner with water recreation activities and programs out at the lake, at the Liberty Lake Regional Park. So we're just sort of touching the tip of the iceberg with them and putting some bugs in their ears to, okay, how can you have a lake. I don't know what opportunities they offer within the county resources, but I know that they're low on staffing resources as far as recreation goes. So there could be potential opportunity in the future to work with the county and offer our citizens, swim lessons or water activities, paddleboarding, who knows what. We just don't know exactly what that's going to look like or how that's going to wash out. But at least we have sparked their interest. They have some new staff that came and met with us, and he was very interested in connecting us with their recreation folks to see where and how and if we can work with them as a partner to offer some of these classes and programs out there at the beach.
So is that kind of the next step, is to meet with that individual?
Yes, well, we met with them already, and then we need to meet with their recreation staff who organizes all of that as a next step. We hope to do that, sooner than later. And now that we have Mikkel on board who can really dial in and focus on these things, it not only boosts us to move forward with potential options, but we've tapped into them and made the contact, and they were excited about how we did. None of us had any solutions in that meeting, but we all were excited to see how we could partner together, particularly because of the outcry for water activities offerings in the city and the fact that the city has no water access. So I think that the potential for partnership is certainly there. It's just a matter of working through what that's going to look like.
And is it on your plate then to pursue that with the county?
Yes, absolutely.
Can I give you another one to pursue?
Sure.
Okay, because I was the guy that was at your meeting, I think it was a couple of months ago, and suggested partnering with the county on the swim stuff. But I got another one for you to think about. Think about it in the context of a pop-up, or could be a pop-up. But I was really pleased to see where looks like Spokane Valley is moving forward with some kind of an ice arena. I think they're going to look at 2 sheets of ice. Maybe. Well, I can tell the story in the olden days where when it got cold, we used to do sandbags in a lot and fill up the sandbags just with water, and it was just a chance for the kids to go out and skate. Well, I just wanted to provide some input that when it gets cold, there's several ice skaters out on the driving range on Meadowood where number 10 is. And if you want to think about another opportunity for working together with the county on some kind of a ad hoc or pop-up basis to have an ice skating opportunity. And you could think of several different places where that could occur. Obviously, the lake does freeze over, especially at that south end where it's so shallow. But the other thing that freezes over is all those water holes on, and in particular, the driving range. And those are very shallow. And if you want to think about having some kind of opportunity for people to volunteer on an ice skating type arrangement, that would be another thing to consider, because I think a lot of, I can't say for sure, but I don't know how popular hockey is or how popular ice skating is becoming, but it'd just be another opportunity for, cooperation between the city and the county.
Yep.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback. That's actually a good segue here about just those partnerships. Playgrounds was another topic that we asked the community about, and there was interest in more just that traditional equipment, swings, slides, merry-go-rounds, a lot of the things that are available on some of the school playgrounds that are also accessible to the public, and more trails and connectivity. But the main takeaways, if you look not just at each subject but overall, Liberty Lake residents are really proud of their park system, really eager to see it evolve and to be a part of that visioning. And highest priorities, if we had to come up with the top 5, were that pool aquatic center interest, the indoor community center, expanding trails, upgrading playgrounds, and maintaining the existing facilities. So that's going to help inform, this next level of engagement that we do when we start really talking to the community about specific projects, namely a couple of those top 2 that are pretty big, high dollar items, really helping the community understand what the costs and things like that are associated with facilities such as that. So we'll be working with you all to let you know what we hear from the community, and with Jen and Mikhail to help shape some of those questions and outreach questions that we ask. With that, I was going to shift to some of the demands and needs and level of service conversation, unless anybody had any other questions on engagement.
Can I do a little just intro for the planning commission before you get into this? So one of the
Yes.
things that we're required to do as part of our comp plan is to identify just that level of service standards. And so this is of the things that planning commission probably should be most concerned with. Its level of service and the goals and policies. Those are essential pieces to this element. However, our lead is the Parks and Arts Commission, so they're going to be making recommendations for you to look at and finalize. So I just wanted to give you kind of a context where we are with this, and then turn it over to Jen to actually talk about what she's come up with and what some of the questions and concerns are.
Yeah. Thank you for the context, Lisa. That's helpful. So one of the things we did is just to help set the context for determining level of service. There's a couple of ways you can look at level of service, and that's the one is quantitative, right? How many acres do you have? How many people do you have? What's kind of the national average? But there's also a qualitative level of service consideration, and this map here is reflective of that philosophy, which is the idea of a 10 to 15 minute walk. So we took each of the city-owned parks and we did roughly a half-mile radius around that park to identify the walk shed. And where are those parks serving the community, and are there parts of the community not being met currently within a walkable, accessible distance to a park? And how does that shape the conversation around level of service standards? Because you might have all the acreage maybe you need for your population, but maybe it's all in one quadrant of the city and really not serving the full population evenly. So that's kind of the purpose of these maps. The report has lots of maps. I didn't include them all in today's presentation, but I just wanted you to know that this was part of the analysis that we did. From that analysis, we identified 3 areas that kind of rose to the top in terms of gaps in service area coverage. And that was the Legacy Ridge neighborhood, residents along East Valley Vista Drive, and neighborhoods in North and Northeast Liberty Lake. Here's a map. Shh. Go ahead, Lisa. Did you have a?
I did have a comment. Can you go back to the prior map? So Legacy Ridge actually has some neighborhood parks in there, and I'm not seeing any walk shed analysis around those.
This map is only on what we identified as community and local parks. Then we did walk shed maps for your HOAs, for the schools, and the special use parks. So there's a whole series of maps in the report based on the community or on the characteristic of the parks. And we were looking specifically at the walk shed gaps for those city-owned services. So there's some caveats there and some nuances to the HOAs do serve those direct neighbors, but not necessarily the broader community. So they're a part of the solution, but they're not fully accessible. So they're weighted a little differently.
Question. So how can there be a city service area gap if Legacy Ridge, for example, is all private? I mean, there's 3-4 miles of walking trails. We've got 3 parks, and not like Pavilion or Orchard, but they are open space.
You'd be sure to talk.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So I guess how does, because the city's not going to improve on that walk shed map because it's private. You'll never make that connection. So I guess I don't understand why that wouldn't be part of the equation, or you just acknowledge that those parts of the city are private along with the others that are private HOAs that have similar amenities and included in the evaluation.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's complex. We did do a walk shed analysis for the HOAs because they definitely serve the community in the neighborhood they're located in. but they don't necessarily serve the broader community because you have to live in that neighborhood to access them in most cases. And they don't always have all the amenities. So we looked at level of service in terms of the types of parks and amenities. Like you have community parks, you have neighborhood parks, you have small special use parks. Some parks just have a playground, some have, you know, a stage. There's different things that you want to provide the community. So those HOAs are often fitting the need for a small playground, but not necessarily the needs of every, you know, different recreational activities you might want to engage in. So they're part of the service, but they don't always hit all the metrics that you're trying to account for in a level of service. I know we only had a limited time on our presentation, so I didn't get into huge detail on each demands and needs analysis map, but they are in that draft report. So I encourage you guys to look at that. And if you have specific questions, I'd be happy to follow up on that. I just wanted to share that we did do a level of service watershed analysis on every city-owned and privately owned facility within the boundaries of Liberty Lake. And from that, we developed this map, which is a service area gap analysis. So the areas that are in kind of this salmon color are those areas not currently being served within a half-mile watershed. So if you're trying to identify where should we develop new parks, where should we acquire additional parkland, you know, where might we want to change a zoning to accommodate a park, these are the areas we would highlight as priority for that development.
Question. Back to your
Yes.
quantitative introduction piece, Jen, did you take into account the state park that we have that runs along the entire north border of Liberty Lake? It's called the Centennial Trail and it's a state park.
Yes, so we looked at that.
You mentioned it. Let me just say, we did prepare, and the people that come to this meeting did take a look at the information that was there. So my question goes back to how you did some of this. If you were to include the acreage of the Centennial Trail, and Jen Camp, you know how long that is. I think it's 4 mile stretch. But if it was 3 miles, that adds 3.7 acres. If it's 4 miles, it adds 4.8 acres to that lack of the level of service that you had for us not having enough acreage. And I think that if you include that, you took that as a trail in almost every one of there was only a couple of times it was even mentioned. And you will find even today, when I was out on the trail, there was over 100 people in the stretch that is just on Liberty Lake. And so I'm not sure that the questions that were asked or anything included how valuable the Centennial Trail is as a part of ours. And Jen Camp can tell us maybe a little bit about why we now spend $10,000 a year to maintain that area, because it is a park. It is not just a trail.
That's a good point. Thank you. We did two level of service compilations. I'll show you this slide to start. We did one that is just city-owned property. We did another that includes those regional facilities, public facilities, such as a state park, such as a school, such as a county park, to take into account the broader level of service benefiting the community, even if it's outside of city ownership. So the report kind of reflects on both of those. The National Recreation
Right. And those
Parks
tables we've all taken a look at, and not one of them
Right.
is the acreage on the Centennial Trail. That's my point.
for the trail miles.
For the Centennial Trail is a state park. So
We
that
we
should be included.
calculated it in terms of miles for trail, so that it's represented in total trail miles in the level of service table.
Which on your level of service, you say that we have an awful lot of trails. I would contend that that's not just trail area, that's park area.
Well, I mean, that's a conversation. The classification for the Centennial Trail, we put that under the trail classification and we didn't lump it into a neighborhood park or community park. Just based on the primary use there is trail activity.
Okay.
But if you would like us to lump that into a different park classification, you know, we're happy to do that.
Well, it's not what I'd like. We were talking about how you quantitatively came to this information. And I have some questions on it because it is a park. It is a state park. It's not part of just the trail system. The trail system that we have, as you've mentioned in there, the walkability part of those trails too, did not include the walkability along the golf courses. And there are lots of recreation that goes on those golf courses. And there are lots of acres on those golf courses.
The golf courses are included in the broader level of service metric.
Yes.
Not in the table I'm showing here. This is only city-owned properties. But there's another table with the 38 acres that includes the golf course acreage.
I guess the point is that the Centennial Trail, that access point has it has restrooms and other facilities that would classify it as a park, right?
It is a state park.
I guess that's the point.
But the disconnect,
Well,
because it's not city property,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, we
but that,
yes, but
that's the disconnect. And it shouldn't be.
That's right.
no, just same as the
Right.
legacy. But it should be included in the assessment
Right.
of the entire city. Whether
so let's go to this table right here then. This is the one that captures the trail miles that include the Centennial Trail. You would prefer the acreage of the 4 mile of the Centennial Trail to be included in which of these park classifications? The definitions for these classifications were taken from the National Recreation and Parks Association. And that's why we grouped that into trails, with the main activity being bike and ped use along the trail system of the park. It is an important asset to the community to have access to trails. That's something that's important to the community. So it's wonderful that it's calculated in that category and adds to your level of service for that particular type of recreation. As you can see, you're hitting the level of service standard you have for trail miles because of that additional access to the Centennial Trail.
Yes, I saw that, but the acreage on that was not included in what I was saying to begin with, the quantitative amount of acreage that we have for parks. Which it is. The trail that goes around Pavilion Park is a trail. And there's a park within it. The trail that goes along the river is a park. And that acreage should be included in the quantitative amount of acreage that we have for, and you have a suggestion on there that we need to improve and need to increase that acreage.
Okay, I think I'm tracking what you're saying. We could keep the trail miles available from the Centennial Trail itself in the trail mile quantification here with the 15 miles. We could include the acreage of the actual land property around the trail because there are benches and opportunities to picnic and things like that.
Exactly.
And put it into the community park category and add to the acreage here.
That was the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, and I think, Jen, for what it's worth, just to reinforce what Tom is saying here is the community uses that as a park, not just as a trail.
Year round. There's no.
Yep.
And there's a trailhead at Harvard Road that is in the city that is the trailhead for the Centennial Trail. So it should be included.
Wonderful. Happy to do that. And do you guys have, did you say you had the exact acreage? We can get that if you don't. But...
Jen Camp can tell us how long the trail is, and I use an average of 10 feet wide, and sometimes it's 12 and sometimes it's 8.
So your GIS program should also be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the big trailhead area, which is what Commissioner Mann was referring to.
And that'll be expanded because the
Yeah.
Quinemos Park is being added.
Yeah.
So I would ask the question, is it just the trail pathway or is it the right of way?
So it is all, it's not just the trail pathway. That's what they're saying. It's
That's
the
what I'm-
area.
Tom say is that the usual, the pathway is 10 to 12.
I just use the minimal amount. There are people that go down to the river. There are
It's-
people that come into that area from the other
That's what
side.
I'm
That's my
saying.
point.
So
It's
it's
river
not just the
access.
pathway,
So it's
it's
the
the-
area, the whole area from the along our northern boundary from
the
our
shoreline.
eastern and to the shoreline, from our eastern boundary to our western boundary.
Yep.
And that's
But just
easy GIS calculation.
Okay.
But just for clarity, and I don't think this is gonna negate what you're saying, Lisa. But for clarity's sake, from the Centennial Trail Coordinating Council level, the agreement is that the city only maintains the trail itself to 3 feet on either side.
That's
So
correct.
just for clarity, that's not gonna really affect anything. I think as people are using the whole area, because the rest of it's county, the trail is state parks. The city maintains the trail, not the areas around it. But just so that everybody's clear, that's how it's constructed in the maintenance agreement for the Centennial Trail.
Thanks, Jen. That's what I was asking you earlier too.
And it's about, 3 to 4 miles. I don't have the exact mileage right off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you. We'll update the report with that. We can add that to the narrative section too, to highlight that the Centennial Trail is part of that larger kind of regional LOS calculation and update the report with that. So thank you for
And
that
Just
feedback.
one correction on your table 5.2, West River Park is called River Rock Park. It's on, I don't know the page number.
It's on, there's no page number, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Got it. Thank you.
Table 5-2.
Got it. Okay, this particular table that I'm showing now is looking at your peer community comparisons that we did. We used the cities of Airway Heights, Cheney, Hayden, and Rathdrum because of similar obvious location, topography, weather, and population. We looked at across the top here, the population of the various cities, the total number of public parks that are city-owned, the total number of residents per park, and acreage to come up with a level of service number based on city ownership alone. The current parks plan has a level of service standard that's representative of the broader public space that's available, including non-city owned parks. And the National Recreation and Parks Association recommends that you have a level of service standard for city-owned parks as well, because that's what's directly in your control to change or adapt. So I point this out just because if you do want to make to adopt a new level of service standard, you may want to also consider adopting one for city-owned parks specifically. This chart here shows looking at those peer communities and from the National Recreation and Parks Association, other cities of equal population, what the level of service standard is. Like I said, Liberty Lake is at 7.78. The median is 10.9. So you're just shy of that, even though you are higher than all of those peer communities that I mentioned. So you're sitting pretty well, you're just below the median, but if you wanted to adopt a level of service standard, you might want to consider stretching to that, maybe more of that median number.
So
Go ahead.
Please ask.
this makes no sense to me based on our last conversation about the property that Tom brought for that it's a park. So when you take, let's just say what did you say, Tom? I think you said 3 to 4 acres.
Yeah.
Let's just say,
That's if I use 10 feet. If we
Right.
take the 6 feet in addition to it, that gets us up to 7 acres. Additional park space.
so based on the ratio of 1 acre per 1,000 residents, that clearly takes us out of the red and brings us way more in line with the national averages. Because the end result of whatever this discussion and this document produces is going to be referenced for short and long-term planning going forward on, do we have enough parklands in the city? And I
Exactly.
think the answer today is yes, but
Well, I'd like to raise a statistical issue also, because this is looking at the statistics across the country. In an urban area where you're not surrounded by rural lands that afford opportunities for recreation, it's absolutely essential to have a higher percentage of park land, because the residents, again, in a metropolitan area, don't have as much opportunity for recreation.
So Lisa, take that in your experience in Spokane. Did Spokane have a level of service that's within
Spokane
that?
Yes, actually, the Spokane community does have a much higher standard thanks to the
Because it's-
Olmsted Brothers.
It's urban. Yeah, okay. and the big
And
parks.
for those who don't know, the Olmsted Brothers are famous parks
Yep.
planners. They actually planned Central Park in New York City. They also planned the park system
Beginning of the 20th century
in
here.
Spokane, and they in the late 1800s, I
Yep.
think. Late 1800s, and
It's-
the reason why Spokane has such a robust park system is because they preserved that land back in the day to make sure that there were parks available to all the neighborhoods.
But we're not that urban. We're,
But we're not that urban.
Right.
But yes, they have they are like a case study in how to do parks planning.
One thing, and I know this is a lot of numbers to throw you this and I wish we had more time to go into it in more detail, but we calculated 2 different level of service standards. One based on city-owned parks, one that takes into account the broader recreational amenities such as the state park, Centennial Trail, the Liberty Lake County Park, the schools, and the HOAs. So yes, if the Centennial Trail will be a part of that broader level of service. What I was trying to suggest is that the city may want to consider adopting a level of service standard for its city-owned park system in addition to the level of service standard that's representative of the broader parks network. Your current plan, you have an adopted level of service standard of 30 acres per 1,000 residents. And that's inclusive of HOAs, the golf courses, the schools, all of that. This slide up here
Well,
is only city-owned parkland.
Jim Baumker has a comment.
just another comment is, did I hear that we do fund part of the Centennial Trail?
Yes.
So maybe the definition of city-owned parks should be expanded to include city-owned and partially city-funded.
Maintained.
Yeah, funded and maintained.
Yeah, because you're maintaining part of the elementary school too, is right? Part of their.
Correct.
fields.
Yes, we fund it and maintain it. Yes.
And
Mhm.
I would argue that from a resident's perspective, the recreational opportunities, and I'm not necessarily talking about the different quality or the different types of recreational opportunities, but just generally speaking, they're not going to, the citizens, most of them don't know
No.
that, which is HOA owned and which is city owned. In the case of Legacy Ridge, to Phil's point, there is no way to provide that service. That's a, what, 90+ acre and actually maybe larger than that. It's a huge subdivision and it is all served by private streets. There's no way for a city park that's going to beat the walk sheds for that. Again, so I think that one of the things is from a functional standpoint, residents are not going to treat them differently. I think we should be looking at a level of service standard that is inclusive of the golf course because the golf course is also used for recreational purposes. It's used for sledding in the summer. It's used for all sorts of summertime or wintertime activities. Glow golf at night, which is more of a family sort of thing. And the trails, etc., are taken advantage by the entire community. So I think that that's important. Evan, what's up? Yeah, Mikhail.
One thing to keep in mind, I think, too, with the funding and maintaining is a lot of those are agreements. Like the school itself is an agreement that could end at some point and it may not be renewed. And so I don't know if that's something to take into effect when discussing the level of service. Will that always be the case? Will we always have access to the school? Will we always have access to certain HOA parks, or can those change? And I don't know if that's something to keep in mind or not.
But I think that's why these plans get updated, is for that reason, right?
Absolutely. And again, we are updating this every 10 years.
So can I add something?
Yeah.
So I heard from Jen a couple times now, the statement, the reference in the chart is city-owned property, right? And maybe that's the restriction for the outcome of the metrics that you're trying to measure. I don't know how better to say that.
Yep.
Right.
Because, I'm just sitting here in my mind thinking, if you're only measuring city-owned property, you're not capturing the Centennial Trail. You're not capturing the 350 acres of the ORV park or the 600 acres of the conservation land or the golf courses or any of that other stuff that we don't own.
That's exactly my point. And one of the things that the city can do, and it is within the city's purview to do, is to
Expand that.
define the metric
Mhm.
what is it that you're measuring? And that is going to determine if you adopt a level of service standard that says, yes, 30 acres per thousand population, that includes golf courses, trails, neighborhood parks, HOA parks,
Right.
retail
The
parks,
hub.
et cetera. The hub, yeah.
And the fields of the hub as well.
Just to be
Right.
honest with you, when I did my homework, because we all come prepared, as soon as I see we're in the red, I want to zero in why.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I did.
And now I'm understanding better why, because the measure is restricted.
It's definitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All depends on your definition.
Exactly.
And so,
So how do we take this and,
so.
The city can change the definition for the level of service.
Right, and so the discussion that should be had, maybe the best way to do this would be to do a joint Parks and Arts and Planning Commission meeting to specifically discuss level of service, to see what is Liberty Lake centric and what is meaningful to our community as the level of service metric.
Yes.
Mhm. I love that idea. What I'm hearing from you guys, and this is reflective of your last parks plan, right? Your last level of service, you adopted 30 acres per thousand. So that was that system-wide perspective, not just city-owned. So you don't have to adopt a city-owned level of service. A lot of communities do that. And so I wanted to just make sure you knew it was an option for your consideration. You don't need to go that route because of all the various points that you've all expressed. This chart here, one thing to reflect on, if you continue with your level of service standard, if you stay with the 30 acres per thousand residents, is to think about the future of Liberty Lake and as you grow. Obviously more people are moving to Liberty Lake. It's a popular area for a lot of good reasons. As we look out to 2042, which is the 20-year planning horizon of the comp plan, your number of acres obviously needs to increase as your population increases. So that's when you get in the red, is when you look 20 years out and you've got, 21,000 people in your city instead. So you have a lot of time to adapt to that, and to consider that. You're certainly above. Right now, you're at 36 acres per 1,000 residents. You're above your adopted level of service standard. If we wanted to include the hub, that's not currently a part of this calculation, those fields at the hub where they're expanding. If we wanted to go broader out to some of the county amenities that one of the commissioners mentioned, we could do that. And that again would increase your total acreage access. So I think as you consider some of those county amenities, we can address this projected shortfall here.
I think that's a really great point, Jen. And one of the things I want to say to the Planning Commission, one of the things I want to remind them of is the fact that we anticipate hitting build out in the next 20 years. So if we want to meet that standard for our build out population, we need to plan for it now.
The joint meeting would be.
So I'd be happy to prepare some materials for a joint meeting. Like you said, it is a very, there's a lot of nuance and complexity to it. There's a lot of things to consider. How far out do we go when we think about the amenities and recreational, offerings in the community? Do we go out, so far from the city boundary? We'd have to kind of determine that together. And then we could recalculate the level of service. We can certainly update these numbers with State Park, as one of the commissioners recommended, and have this conversation. We can also look at the individual park. This was another slide in the presentation. It's in your report, but we looked at the level of service for each type of park. So there's total acreage, which is one metric, but then there's, you don't want all your parks HOAs. You want to offer those big community parks for the special events that you all do. So looking out at the 2042 population, your community park that you currently have starts to look a little small for a community of 21,000 people. So those are some things we could talk about too. Do you want to think about any recommendations related to the types of parks you have?
I think that's great. So I want to, not to put you on the spot, Jen Camp, but do you think the Parks and Arts Commission would consider doing a joint meeting with the Planning Commission to have this conversation?
Yeah, I do. I think it'll take a little working to schedule a coordinated date, but yeah, I think that we would get at least a quorum there.
That would be awesome.
One last comment. You incorporate what we've talked about some fashion, it's drastically going to change the key findings at the end of this document.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I think
should.
this is kind of a critical path, actually. And it's a critical path for phase 2 also, because coming up with the projects and the cost estimates for the facilities that are needed, I think so I think that if we can do it sooner rather than later. And so Jen Camp, my thought is that if you and I can get together maybe tomorrow and look at some dates, we can do a poll on that. We've got holidays in here, but doing something before Thanksgiving or in the first 2 weeks of December seems like it would be important to do. Just
Yeah.
give timelines.
Okay, that works.
Yeah,
Dean.
I have a question relative to the definition of level of service. As we're expanding that definition, how would that affect the use of the golf courses or something like Topgolf?
Well, so Topgolf is going to be
Commercial.
it is going to be commercial, and it's not inconsequential in terms of price. We wouldn't consider Silverwood. If Silverwood was in our bounds, we would not consider that to be a park. for purposes of this. So I think that the for-profit piece of it changes the equation a little bit.
Well, but one of the suggestions at the end of this, and I think that's what Phil was talking about, is that we start charging people more so that they're more sustainable. And I don't think that you're going to find that there's a whole lot of, Jen's tried to raise the rates just for the ballparks and stuff, and that'll be a tough sell.
Well, and the city owns a golf course as well,
That's
which
right.
should be counted
Yep.
in. I know we're comparing everything to the National Recreation and Park Association determination of levels of service. But during the survey, I know we had many of our citizens say they wanted to see like a swimming pool or an indoor recreation arena or something like that. How many of those citizens said, we don't have enough parks in this city? Did any?
We really didn't hear that. No, people were pretty happy with the current park system. Yeah.
That's my point, is we are planning against, frankly, an arbitrary number given us by the NRPA instead of what do our citizens want? And so that concerns me as we continue to plan this. What do our citizens want, and how do we find that out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good point. You know, we're looking out to 2042, you know, when your population would be, 21,000 instead of 14. What would the community say with your current park system if it was that big? I guess that's, it's an unknown. But that was one thing we were trying to kind of just project out, what would be the needs of a community of that size. But you're right, the national standards are just simply another data point for consideration, but certainly not the only consideration. And ultimately, each city gets to adopt its own level of service standard. There's no requirement associated with that. So it's really whatever fits the unique needs of Liberty Lake. I think it'll be interesting if we can do kind of a workshop on this, and I can really show you guys which facilities we used in the level of service analysis outside of the city parks. We didn't have time to get into all of that tonight, but I can show you the acreage of the schools and of the HOAs, and we can look at the state park, and then we can have that conversation about what other facilities should be included in that, because I think you guys are mentioning some that are not currently in the analysis because they're a little bit further out of the city. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll be a very fruitful conversation.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate that, John. And one of the things I will say also is that, and just kind of the final thought here, is that we also have to think about how compact we are as a city. So including some of the adjacent park opportunities. You look at parks in the city of Spokane, and the area of the city is huge. It's 10 times, more than 10 times the size of the city of Liberty Lake. And we're a 6.25 square mile city. It's actually quite feasible to walk across the city.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. This is a unique time in the development of the city, right? Because you are looking at a build out scenario when we look at that 20-year horizon. So the decisions you all make now will really shape the experience of residents in Liberty Lake in the future. So
just a little bit of information. The city is actually 706 acres. And how many acres of parks do we have already today? 90?
And that is consistent with the values of the community, to maintain the open space, and they really value those golf courses as part of that open space.
Yeah, just when you look at all those other open spaces, you know, like the golf courses, for example, there are restrictions obviously on how they can be used with, and how those facilities can be used is not the same as a city-owned park. Very, very different.
Absolutely.
And then just the other, because I kind of alluded to it before, but the landfill, what's going to happen with that? What's going to happen with that land?
So it is a Superfund site. It's capped and monitored. With the current county real estate manager, nothing's ever gonna happen with it. But when she retires, perhaps.
Would it be safe to have some kind of a recreational facility there?
They do not have any methane venting pipes there because the landfill is so old that all of the methane has dissipated.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big concerns. You could,
Would,
around the country, they have, closed landfills have been used for passive recreational facilities. It could be, you know, a place where you go, cross-country skiing, or where you have trails, etc. That is possible. The challenge that you have is because of the cap, you can't put anything into, you can't go down.
you can't go down, but still, you've got
But you
that
can-
acreage.
But as I said, you can certainly use it for passive recreation. So there may be an opportunity there. The other thing I'm gonna say is that the county also has about 35 acres over in the south corner of the city that they are going to be surplusing. That may be an area that is an opportunity.
Or an acquisition?
Potentially. I think that they're going to be bidding it, however.
But nevertheless,
There's an opportunity there, yeah.
and, okay.
Is our workshop complete?
Jen, did you have anything else to add?
That was the main thing. Just to let you all know, we are planning our first engagement event at the Halloween event at the library. If any of you want to come and see that, putting together some engagement materials. So yeah, and then I'll just work with Lisa and Jen Camp on a potential date for a workshop.
Thank you so much, Jen.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Great work.
Thank you.
Any other comments or? All right, we will move on. Any citizen comments? Anyone online, Evan?
No.
Okay, we will move on then to reports, secretary's report.
So just quickly, at last night's city council meeting, I presented with Sue Hudson Rao, who is our code enforcement specialist, and Ben Turner, who is our public works director, on the sidewalk master plan. We have done all of the data collection on it now, and we are about to put together a focus group. I've talked to Community Engagement Commission, and while we have a contract with SCJ Alliance to help us facilitate the development of this, we have done the research in terms of a white paper on structures and potential financing approaches to look at how we can more systematically and comprehensively address our sidewalks around the city. Robust conversation with city council. And when we asked what potential approaches were non-starters, based upon the conversation, I guess all are still on the table. That being said, we're gonna.
Well, no, they took one off.
Oh, no, we didn't, because there were conflicting opinions on that.
Oh, I thought it was the city will pay for all of it was off the table.
No, because at least one council member said, oh, yes, I think that the city should just pay for it.
I missed that part, sorry.
Anyhow, it was a good conversation. It's a conversation we have to have and figure out how we're gonna approach that. So I'm gonna be reaching out to people that are on the bicycle pedestrian subcommittee to be part of this focus group. I'm looking for a representative from the planning commission who might not be on the this sidewalk pedestrian safety committee. Looking for
Katie will want to be the person from,
oh, no, we're inviting the whole, the whole
there's
pedestrian
only about 4 of us, so.
that are super active. Yeah, so I'm gonna invite them all, anybody who wants to participate on that. They're the subject matter experts. We also are gonna be using the Community Engagement Commission, so SCJ is gonna develop all of the engagement materials and kind of brainstorm the engagement process. But we're gonna leverage the Community Engagement Commission to actually implement the engagement process with a focus both on citywide input as well as neighborhood-based input. So, and HOAs, we're also interested in having potentially HOA representatives on there and any other interested citizens. So excited about that. It's going to be kind of, as I said, we did the heavy lift for these things is usually the data collection. And we've got that all done, and we have a white paper on financing mechanisms. It's not a comprehensive list, but it's certainly a good starting place. And so we're hoping to get this focus group together and meeting before the end of the year, and for as kind of a organizational first, this is the scope, this is what we're going to do, this is the schedule. And then really it's probably a couple meetings in January and February before we go out and engage the community. So excited about that. We've been talking about a sidewalk master plan for a couple of years now, desperately overdue. We're also hoping to launch the kind of the steering committee or for the 20-year capital facilities plan. As you can see, schedules are slipping a little bit with these capital projects. So we may have our first meeting, again, just more of a formation, big picture meeting, and how we're going to structure the 20-year capital facilities plan before the end of the year, either before Thanksgiving or first 2 weeks in December. And then we're going to really be starting to work on that January and February timeframe as I have capital projects to plug into that. So those are some of the things. Network analysis. You guys saw the draft, council got the draft. It's out with various agencies. I've asked for comments back by November 11th. And trying to set up a meeting with WashDOT so that we can determine those couple of facilities. I also asked the consultants to look at Greenstone may or may not do the roundabout at Wellington and Harvard. They're looking possibly for the city to do it. If the city does it, it's probably going to need to be a signal because of the cost, number one, and right of way, number two. I'm not going to get into the right of way acquisition. So we're probably looking at a signal there. If that's the direction we go, we want to see, and we've asked them to do both level of service with the signal, which will probably be very similar to the roundabout, but also cost. And the cost is going to be significantly less. The city does it, we're still tip-lift eligible for that project. So the city will get reimbursed for it. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen.
That includes whether it's the more expensive route or the less expensive route, right?
Yes. And so, and just an FYI on that piece also, our experience hasn't been great with private entities putting up signals or cleaning roundabouts. Just leave it at that. So anyhow, so those are some of the things that are going on with the comp plan. So I did have the opportunity to have a conversation with the mayor this morning and with Jean and Charlie this afternoon, and the mayor is willing to reappoint them. if they are willing to do so, and I just heard from both of them that they are. So we hope to have, I'm gonna send out applications to them tonight. I hope to have that on the council agenda for the next council meeting, which is on November 3rd, which is a Monday, because it's election day. Can't have a council meeting on election day. And I think I should probably stop now before I get myself into trouble.
Good job.
Let's move on to planning commissioner reports. Any reports?
No report, but DG
Commissioner
got a
Cole.
hold of us and I'd like to make a motion that we excuse DG. She had a family death.
Yeah, I was gonna do that as well. DG had a death in the family and had to go to that, so I entertain a motion to excuse her from the meeting. So moved, Commissioner Solberg, Commissioner Jenks, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Our next meeting is November 12th. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Commissioner Jenks, second. Commissioner Herschel, all in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Nay,
Thank you all.
I always vote against it.
Is that a unicorn?